I think I'm starting to enjoy The Office. I say this because, very briefly, to recap things I've mentioned in the previous discussions, I tried to watch before, I didn't like it, I've heard so many great things about it that I am now determined to at least make it to season 2. And honestly, things are starting to really look hopeful. Healthcare is the third episode of the first season. This is directed by Ken Whittingham, and there will be spoilers from now as I talk about what happens. Unlike a lot of other sitcoms, I'm not doing deep analyses of these episodes because I'm still finding my feet with the characters. I don't have too many extensive thoughts, but as the show goes on, if I stick with it, that might change. But I will mention a few things that happen and share some thoughts, and I enjoyed it. I can safely say that I liked this episode. I'm still not finding it funny. I haven't laughed yet. I have maybe smiled a few times, but there's something charming about it, and I can't quite put my finger on it. If you feel the same way and can identify what it is, please feel free to let me know. I think it could be the element of relatability. If you've ever worked in an office environment, which I think is one of the things that definitely does appeal about the show, but I'm not necessarily finding it comedic yet, but it does seem hopeful. This episode obviously is all about healthcare, and Michael has to come up with a new healthcare plan, and it's supposed to save the company money, but he needs to make it look like it's beneficial to everybody else, and he doesn't want to do this. So he initially tries to give the task to Jim, but Jim quite rightly said, I'm in sales, this is not the task for me. And this bit I did actually like. I don't know if I necessarily found it funny, but it amused me at least a little bit. He said, you should give it to Dwight. And then we immediately cut to Dwight jumping enthusiastically onto the task. I do think Dwight is currently my favourite character. It is early days. That might change if I continue with the show beyond this season. But so far, if I had to name a favourite, it would be Dwight. And there are kind of two parts to the episode. Mostly it's about Dwight trying to come up with his healthcare plan, and I'll talk about his approach in a moment, but also Michael trying to make everybody feel happy or happier with the situation by telling them there's going to be this big surprise. And he hasn't got a big surprise. And I will say that that part of it felt unfinished to me. So I will mention what I mean by that in a moment. But first of all, we'll talk about Dwight and the healthcare plan. And he comes up with this idea. Everybody's outraged by it because it basically covers nothing. So he decides, write down all of your diseases and we'll find a healthcare plan that basically covers what everybody needs, which is not a sensible approach, but nevertheless, this is what happens. And people start to write down real diseases and also making up conditions. And I feel like that could be funny if it's your kind of humour. It wasn't to me, but I did find it interesting. So I didn't mind that too much. I thought it was a fascinating approach, if not, for me, a funny approach. And obviously this is not so much of an issue in the UK, but I think it does a really good job of raising the importance of finding a healthcare plan that your employees will actually benefit from. Because what is the point, as a company, of spending money on a healthcare plan that's basically not going to have any benefit to your employees and also not helping your employees stay healthy? It's not really going to be great. So if you're the employer in this scenario, definitely could be quite beneficial. But obviously it's done with a lot of lightheartedness within the episode to make it engaging and, in theory, funny. But as I said, apart from Dwight jumping onto the task, there wasn't really anything in this that I found funny, but I did kind of find it charming almost. It's not what I was expecting from the show, but it's certainly it's a very comforting experience in a way, and I rather like that. So I don't think I'm getting out of this what I'd expected, but I think I'm enjoying the experience. So the part with the healthcare plan and Dwight, it was fine, quite enjoyed it. Then we have the part with the surprise. Honestly, I feel kind of disappointed by this one, because we never really found out what this surprise was going to be. It was a bit of a cop-out. I really wanted to see people's reactions to what Michael would ultimately propose is the big surprise. However, we did get a Robin Williams Mork impression from Steve Carell, which I thought was rather nice. Big Robin Williams fan, so that of course made me very happy. So that part of it was fine. It wasn't as interesting, but I certainly didn't mind it. And then a mention of Robin Williams definitely made me very happy. So I feel like so far, out of the 3 episodes, healthcare is the best. In fact, I would say it's improved with each episode. The first one was, it wasn't that great. Diversity Day was not too bad. And healthcare, I'd say I actually enjoyed, even though I didn't necessarily find it very funny. And I'm hoping that things just improve from here. I'm still not certain if I'm going to continue watching the show long term, but I am determined to at least get 1 or 2 episodes into season 2. There are only 3 more episodes left of season 1. It's a very small season. And then I have heard that season 2 is different. We have a shift in maybe the style of comedy or something. I'm not entirely sure, but I've heard that it's better. So we'll see how that goes. But for now, I'm pleasantly surprised by healthcare. I'm hoping I start to find the show more funny. But for the moment, I'm pretty happy with what we have, and I think it's safe to say I am looking forward to the next episode.